You know the feeling, a subtle shift in someone's tone, a crowded room, or a tense meeting, and suddenly you're overwhelmed. Tears well up, and you find yourself apologizing for a sensitivity you can't seem to turn off. While most people record the world in standard definition, your brain captures life in 8K resolution. This is the biological reality of the highly sensitive person. Your neural hardware is designed to pick up details that others are physically unable to perceive. Today, we are going to build a 5-step super sensor operating system. The goal is to stop the cycle of emotional overload by learning to process these intense feelings as vital data points. Grab a physical notebook and a pen. We're going to install these protocols to help you manage your sensory input more effectively. Viewing your emotions as biological data is the first step towards using your sensitivity as a tool. When you stop treating your reactions as moral failings, you can begin to use that high-resolution perception in your work and your relationships. Step 1 is the system reframe. This requires acknowledging that your reactions are a function of your biology, not a lack of willpower. Your limbic system and amygdala are hyper-responsive to stimuli. While most brains ignore 90% of input to save energy, your system treats everything as relevant. When overstimulated, your parasympathetic nervous system triggers tears to flush out stress hormones, returning you to a balanced state. This trait has survived for thousands of years because it provided a survival advantage to the tribe. While the warriors focused on the hunt, the sensitive advisors were the ones who noticed the slight change in wind or the subtle tension in a neighboring group before a conflict began. When you understand that your sensitivity has an evolutionary and neurological basis, it becomes easier to analyze an emotional reaction objectively. You can begin to see the signal instead of just feeling the noise. Step 2 is the impartial viewer. When you feel a surge of emotion, the goal is to observe the physical reaction without immediately following the impulse to act on it. Close your eyes and scan your body. Identify exactly where the feeling lives, perhaps a tightness in your throat, a heaviness in your chest, or a racing pulse. Assign that sensation a physical shape and a color. Making the feeling visible in your mind creates a mental distance. It helps separate the physical data from the stressful story your brain is trying to tell about why you're upset. With that distance established, we move to step 3, the RAM dump. This is the process of moving the information out of your head and onto a physical medium. Because your brain engages in deep processing, its cognitive RAM can fill up and overheat. This leads to the sudden shutdowns, or the intense need for silence that many sensitive people experience. Use your pen and paper to write out exactly what you are experiencing. Don't worry about grammar or logic. The act of writing forces your brain to organize the overheated data, moving it from a vague feeling into a concrete observation. By combining the pause with journaling, you physically separate yourself from the intensity of the moment. You're no longer drowning in the emotion, you're looking at it from the shore. Step 4 is perspective taking. Once your own system is stable, you can turn your focus outward to use your natural empathy as a deliberate strategy. Take a recent conflict and practice shifting your internal question. Instead of asking how the situation is affecting you, ask, what is the reality of the person across from me right now? Your mirror neurons are naturally hyperactive, meaning you physically simulate the emotional states of others. You are picking up on nonverbal cues and shifts in atmosphere that most people are biologically wired to miss. By consciously channeling this intuition, you can de-escalate tensions and build trust. You see underlying needs of people around you, which allows you to address the root of a problem, rather than just the surface-level symptoms. This high-resolution social radar is a significant asset in complex environments. Leaders who accurately mirror and validate the reality of their team members often build a level of influence that purely analytical managers struggle to achieve. The final step is boundary architecture. This involves curating your environment to support a system that processes information more deeply than average. Start with a practical audit. Use noise-canceling headphones in loud spaces, switch to warm lighting to reduce visual fatigue, and establish buffer time between intense social interactions. Give yourself permission to step away from overstimulating rooms for 5 minutes. You are managing your energy levels so you can remain effective, and that requires no apology. Most people are like dandelions. They are resilient and grow almost anywhere. You are an orchid. In a harsh or toxic environment, an orchid struggles, but in a greenhouse designed for its needs, it produces a complexity and beauty that a dandelion cannot match. Setting boundaries is the act of building your own greenhouse. It isn't about being fragile, it's about creating the specific conditions you need to perform at your highest level. Your system is now online, treating emotions as data, using the impartial viewer, performing the RAM dump, practicing perspective taking, and maintaining your boundary architecture. The world has plenty of numbness. What it needs are people who can feel deeply, process that information thoroughly, and act with genuine insight. If you found these steps helpful, subscribe to the channel for more research-based guides, and let me know in the comments, which of these 5 protocols do you need to implement today? Crying easily is simply evidence of a highly sensitive emotional system. When you learn to work with your hardware instead of against it, that sensitivity becomes your most reliable source of strength.